Hi, thank you for joining me again. I'm going to be working today on this small 6" by 4" canvas board, and I'm going to do a very simple abstract with very limited colours. Nice gold here. I've got some turquoise, some white, and I'm also going to use one of the beautiful Liquitex acrylic inks. This is a turquoise colour. I'm now doing this as a little bit of a palette cleanser, if you'll excuse the pun, because I've been doing lots of seascapes, so it's actually quite nice to get back to doing something very, very simple. And I do recommend that if you are working and you've created perhaps a series, do something completely different to just, as I said, refresh yourself, just do something completely other than you've been doing. So I'm just literally applying some of that lovely gold paint with this nice flat brush, and I'm working on the two sort of opposite areas first, just to get a little bit of bones in. And now I've mixed some white paint with this lovely turquoisey colour, like a sea sort of turquoise, and I'm just putting it next to the gold. I have no plan here. This is just working intuitively, just balancing the two different sides. Let's get a little bit more blue onto there. I apologise for the interference on the video, on the canvas board. I think it's because of the weave on the canvas. I should have actually gessoed it and sanded it, but I didn't. I was just keen to get on. So I'm just adding a little bit more. I'm just adding some titanium white here, blending that down. As you can see, I've used the same brush. I'm using it on its side to create the lines, and I've used it full on just to brush across. And it's very useful to use your brushes in this way, because you get used to how you can use one particular brush to do different things. Now I'm adding in some really nice French ultramarine that really gives it that lovely pop of colour. Still within those colour schemes, that spectrum of the blues, turquoises, goes so well with gold. I like the effect of pulling the paint across and it's sort of grazing. Those of you who've watched my videos before will remember my passion for grazing paint. Now in this top corner I put some of the ink, and I've just wet the brush with clean water. I'm just going to pull that out. I'm just going to let it do a little bit less structured work. So spraying it with some water, watching it move about, and the fun bit of tilting, making it go into different areas. It's a really pretty colour. I'm just going to lift this out with some tissue because I don't want it to spread. I want to just concentrate in that corner. So I'm going to put some more right in that corner again, and I'm going to tilt that into the water. There are a couple of little bubbles on there. I'm just going to pop those. There we go. So moving that colour about. All these harmonious colours are working really well. And now I've got some white paint on this very small palette knife, and I'm just pulling it across into that area, mixing it with the ink. I don't mind it spreading and mixing. It just adds little bits of extra interest. Okay, so we're just moving that across very randomly. I'm trying not to catch that line of gold underneath, so I'm just being a bit careful there. And I'm actually going to scrape some of that ink out with the palette knife, and it makes interesting marks, so if you wanted to you could do that. And then back with the flat brush, I'm just going to blend that white paint and really soften it down. It's looking quite nice. Now I'm going to go into that top corner. As you can see, I've put a stripe of the ultramarine blue underneath the other patch of gold, and I'm going to pull that down just on top to give that little bit of sort of contrast really. The gold is dry, so it's not going to mix in. And then using the side of the palette knife, just going to do a few little lines in the ultramarine just to sort of neaten that edge up. I'm going to pull that up, make it a little bit neater. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of white on there. It almost looks a bit like a sort of clouds or whatever. Again, it's completely random. This is not a planned painting. This is purely for the fun of doing something different. I like to add a few little lines. They're just very tiny little lines, but they do break up a white space without having to add in more paint. And they just add that little bit of interest that the eye can look at. We'll put one across this side as well in the turquoisey colour. That's gone a little bit wonky, but we'll straighten that up. Okay, I'm just going to pull that up to that edge and right down to the bottom. Now you can see I've done a little bit of more work on that. Added a little bit more of the blue, another little strip of the blue there. But I want to perk it up a little bit. I still think it looks a little bit like it needs something else. So I've put it onto a piece of paper so we can see what we're doing. I want to remove some of the starkness of this, so I'm going to use some off-cut pieces of card. I'm going to use them as a bit of a mask because I'm actually going to do some spattering and I don't want all the areas covered, so this will prevent that. And I'm going to use the Liquitex copper, metallic copper, so it's a really warm, rich colour. I'm putting it on this plastic tray rather than using it straight from the dropper because I want to use this brush and a piece of doweling and just spatter some little areas of these freckles, if you like. These will come up as little metallic freckles, and you can see now why I use the mask, because it can go a lot of places that we don't want it. So taking those away, and I'm just going to very carefully mask off a couple of other areas and put a few more spatters, and I'm just going to put some in this bottom right hand corner very carefully. I haven't covered the top because I'm not too worried about that, and just making sure that I've got the spatters where I want them. And now I'm going to brush some of that beautiful copper over the blue, and when I show you at the end you'll see that it creates this beautiful iridescence and it just takes off the coldness of the blue. Blue is a cold colour, but adding a warm colour such as this copper really does lift it. And again, I'm just going to add a few little bits down this side, always looking to balance. I'm using a small acrylic or oil brush just to do this, and it just adds that little bit of extra interest, as you can see. I'm going to take it along under the base there, just bring that warmth, and it already looks a lot warmer.
Yeah, I know.
You'll have a preference for your colours, so you use whatever you feel is nice. If you keep it limited to just a few like I've done, it will always look harmonious. So I put that there, and I'm just going to go in with a little bit of water and just soften that up. And that works brilliantly. Because it's ink, it really does soften nicely. There we go. That just adds that little bit of interest there. And I'm pleased with how this is looking. And you can see when I tilt it, the effects of the gold and the copper. See where it is on that blue? It's absolutely beautiful. You still get the blue, but the copper warms it up. So I hope that you will have enjoyed this and see how easy it is to create something as a palette cleanser from other work. I hope this will inspire you to have a go. Please send me any questions that you have, and I'll put the colours in the comments, and I will look forward to seeing you for another project very soon. In the meantime, keep painting. Thanks, and bye for now.